Afternoon, everybody. It's Tuesday afternoon, February the 2nd, about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Decided to finish working too long in front of a computer today. So I've got an hour on the turbo, nice and easy again, just an active recovery ride, so just an hour sort of spinning, so dead easy, and then got an hour of weight training after. So time for a little turbo talk. And today I wanted to talk about perfectionism a bit. Last week, my youngest daughter had her parent consultation, parents' evening, on Zoom. So we spent 5 minutes with each one of her teachers over a course of an hour or so, finding out kind of how she's getting on in this remote world that we currently live in. And without exception, she got fantastic comments. Everyone said she's working hard. Everyone said that she was doing as well as she could be expected to, if not much better, given the circumstances. So we were pleased as punch. She, on the other hand, wasn't. She was pretty upset by the end of it, and kind of talked to her about what was going on and why. And she just felt that all the comments were being pretty generic. They hadn't really talked about all the work that she had really put in any kind of detail, any kind of depth, with any kind of knowledge. She kind of felt that the comments could have been aimed at anybody, and they probably were exactly the same comments. And it didn't represent the work she'd put in, and in fact the grades she was due to get weren't as good as the grades she wanted to get. And she kind of wound herself up a bit about the whole thing. And it got me thinking about this kind of striving to be good, which of course is probably one of the traits that I'm known for. I love learning, and part of that is just that need and want to be good at stuff. There's a fine line though, isn't there, between wanting to be good at stuff and perfectionism. And there's absolutely no problem with wanting to be good at stuff, but there can be quite a lot of problems in terms of kind of mental health and well-being when it comes to perfectionism. They kind of say there's 3 areas of perfectionism. So one is wanting to be perfect ourselves. So wanting to be the best at everything, wanting to get everything to be perfect. The second one is about wanting others to be perfect around us. And the third one, probably the one that causes most problems, is feeling like we've got to be perfect for others. Now I know that I wouldn't say I suffer from perfectionism, but I want to be good within myself. And I can push the boundaries of trying to be too good, trying to expect too much of myself. It has been known that I want to push others. And I've tried very hard not to do that, is to expect perfectionism in other people. And I honestly don't believe I have that in my children. But I don't think I've ever worried too much about what others think of me and trying to be perfect for others. And I think, that one can really lead to kind of some real mental health issues when we're trying to be perfect for others. And it can be something that is partly genetic, often set up in early childhood. Our need to please our parents, our need to get it right and be perfect when we're praised for high standards of things. I don't think we've ever done that. And when you get that kind of situation, they often talk about kind of self-compassion being the way out. People who suffer from perfectionism need to practice self-compassion. Self-compassion itself is kind of listed as kind of 3 things, or there are 3 different areas we need to focus on. And number 1 is just self-kindness. That ability to kind of give ourselves a break. Kind of, it's okay to get things wrong. It's okay not to be brilliant. It's okay. So this is the conversation I had with my daughter. Well, it's kind of okay that you're not the best at everything. It's perfectly natural, perfectly normal. It's okay for them, your teachers, to not be perfect in their feedback of you. It's okay to recognise it, but let's not let's not take it too much to heart, you know. Let's be okay with other people being better. Let's be okay with not having everything exactly as it should be. So often we're not too kind to ourselves. And I think, you know, sometimes we can be really kind to others and give others a real break, but we don't do it to ourselves. The second part of self-compassion is around this sort of common humanity idea, which is none of us are perfect. Look around you and you see people all over the place making mistakes or not being as perfect. It's the nature of human beings not to be perfect, and that's a great thing. That's a really important thing. So just taking that kind of look around and understanding, you know, the great big picture is that none of us is perfect, and we can learn a lot from that. And the third one is around this kind of mindfulness idea, which is to kind of take a situation as it is right now. And one of the things that mindful teaches us is a concept called noting, which kind of says, okay, here's my thought, but rather than kind of take it to heart, rather than kind of judge too harshly, you know, my thought is that wasn't a great parents' evening. Note it, but move on. And just by kind of noting the judgments you make, just by noting what's going on inside your head, but then allowing that to pass and then coming on to the next thought, is a really powerful technique in mindfulness, and a really good one for self-compassion. You're not trying to run away from something, you're not trying to battle it, you're noting it. And that's essentially what worked for my daughter and allowed her to move on. Okay, so you had your parents' consultation, this is what they said, this is what you thought, this is what's going on inside your head, note it, now move on. And she was able to do that. And it wasn't very long before she was on Zoom to her mates, having a word of a time, giggling about some of the things that had been said or some of the things that have gone on. So just beware, because in the triathlete world, we can strive for perfection. But do you do that in work? And what impact does that have? Be careful and recognise where you're perhaps striving too hard to be too good. And then think about self-compassion. Think about being kinder to yourself. Think about the big picture and that none of us is perfect. And think about just kind of taking stock and just kind of noting some of this stuff before you move on. Have a good evening, folks. Take care.